again, at this point in our agenda, we would be trying to reserve the last 50 minutes for open discussion with the community. And let me say a couple of things. First of all, old business. We are going to table the discussion, review, amendment, approval of minutes for October and January as Martisa and Kelly and the CPC members talk about how we might want to revise our format. Also, new business. Part of the community conversation is we want your inputs about what new business we ought to address perhaps next month or in the coming months. I will only say that I am working on a very broad-ranging recommendation that would be multi-agency. It's sort of like the public safety district. This will involve a lot of different agencies, not simply city, but would include state police, nonprofits, and so forth. And I'll bring more information next month in new business. So at this point, I would like to just say this. Let's keep our discussions respectful. We do have the capability to kick people out, and that's the last thing that I would want to do. I will simply say this, and I tried to make my notes real clear. As I said earlier, we want to encourage greater engagement and collaboration with you. And we hope to do this by listening to you to understand your greatest concerns, your passions for improving our community, and the knowledge and skills that you can bring to our efforts. And knowledge, it counts for a whole lot. So in order to help foster greater safety and prosperity for all of our community members through constitutional community policing. So what Kelly has suggested is that if you have a comment or a question, anything, we're here to listen. Raise your hand and he will bring you in so that you can be seen and speak. It would appear not, but let's see. Sandra had her hand up to, did she leave? Oh, there she is. So Kelly?
Yeah, I'm trying to get her promoted now. Hold on.
This is an experiment on how to get more engagement from the community. So bear with us as we experiment with the capabilities and the hosts.
Okay.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So with full disclosure, I am probably the least inept technical person on this call this evening. So I say that up front. But my question, I believe, is for Christina. And earlier, I think, Christina, you stated that currently there are 2 people working on the encampment issue within the quarter-mile of the gateway. And so my question is, code enforcement obviously would have to be involved, especially if these encampments would be like on private or business property. Is there a specific person in the code enforcement office that we are dealing with, or that you are dealing with, that we might be able to contact to report said encampments?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I can follow up with my team to find out for you.
Okay, thank you.
So Susie, do you want to speak to that? I don't know if I see Jose on among attendees tonight. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, you can always call 311 and let them know where. Oh, I see Jose's on there.
Go ahead, Jose.
Can you hear me, Mike? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Let me pull up the chat. What was the question? Because I'm looking on the chat. Is that the one that Sandra asked about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, who to call.
Well, right now, I don't know as far as code enforcement. Who we have on our Fridays is 2 officers, myself, and usually Chris Armenta. I don't think there's been really anyone in particular that's going to be in charge of the gateway at this time. I haven't heard anything yet. But the only one that I deal with right now is Chris Armenta, because he's a supervisor for that southeast area, for that area of the Gibson Hub. But as far as an actual dedicated person to the Gibson Hub, I have no idea. I could find out and I could ask Chris Armenta, but that's the only thing I can do at this time. I don't know for sure.
Okay, I'm maybe taking too many notes, not following the conversation very well. Patrick Barrett said, I hope these programs are culturally responsive and restorative practices. We do have some interaction with the restorative justice initiatives through the city, and if that's something that you would like to have a presentation on here in the Southeast, we will work on getting that, or maybe I can do a YouTube podcast interview with somebody with the city and address that issue. I know that there's a lot of concern about that, and maybe I thought maybe Jose was going to talk to that question. Susie, was that what you were thinking?
Oh, no, Tanya Covington with the city works with us at the Peace Center. I'm actually trained as restorative justice in restorative justice as well. But she actually had hoped to come last month and couldn't. And just the city just has her really busy right now, but we can certainly try to get her back on the schedule. And she's the one that we're working with the commander. And we also have 2 sites in the Southeast that are designated by the city as restorative justice hubs or centers, which is Endorphin Power Company and the Center for Peace and Justice. So you can call either of those 2 places. We'll ask a few questions and then we'll get your information to Tanya, and then one of us will follow up and try to get that set up. And I know that that commander has talked a little bit about it on the couple of I know at one of the shooting reviews, and then he actually did an interview on the TV show that the center has, and has talked a little bit about that and underlying issues and how it has, positively impacted other communities. But yeah, if you go on YouTube and do just a search about restorative justice, there are a lot of really good videos out there, but certainly I can see what Tanya's schedule is and get her, like I said, she was gonna come last month, but then got double booked, so.
But I could also just piggyback off that
And Angel, yep.
and definitely tell you that yes, like the Trauma Recovery Center is culturally responsive, culturally competent, trauma informed approach to addressing the community violence, and it's already operational in the Gibson Medical Hub.
And then to the question about code enforcement, if you call 311, if your question is, I think it was Sandra, is if you're having concerns right now about encampments, just call 311 and they will add that to the list for code enforcement to go out to. And Jose can tell you it depends on whether it's on private property, if it's on public property. Like there's all sorts of different codes and rules and regulations to that. So.
And Patrick, so yeah, to answer your question, that's I believe Christina answered that question that's where the engagement center comes into play, where we'll have certified peer support workers, people who have been there and done that could relate to the people that will be there, and as you know, at the Trauma Recovery Center, that's going to be the case as well. People with lived experience that will help other people through their experience.
Yeah, thank you, Angel, for that insight. But I think it's really important that people have a full understanding how the Gateway Centers, in my humble opinion, is going to be a game changer. And especially with the new program that your office is running, I was hoping that maybe you could kind of highlight that, because again, I really think that people don't have, a clear understanding how important this Gateway Center is going to be about improving the quality of life for the people of Albuquerque.
So might I just for, why don't we have Melinda ask her question, and then if we need to, we can come back to questions about restorative justice and so forth. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, thank you. I just wanted to ask, and I don't know if Christina's still here, but as far as with encampments, at the city council meeting on December 20th, when Councilor Bassan was relaying an issue her constituents had with an encampment outside their property, it was told to her that encampments, if they're on private property, they're the responsibility of the property owner, and that no one from like Family and Community Services or these individuals from 311 would be coming out to like remove that. It's the responsibility of the property owner. And then if code enforcement does get sent out, that if you have not cleaned anything out from your property, that you would get fined. So my question is, like, how are you to deal with it? I've had refuse and dumping on my property that's, hazardous waste basically. So I just want to know how our property owners really supposed to deal with that if they don't feel safe cleaning it up.
I'm not sure, Melinda, but I can find out.
I believe the first step in this process is to put up a no trespassing sign. Would that be right? One of the APD officers?
I'm sorry, you're talking for private property?
Yeah, I'm talking for private property. And I guess in that case, if I'm to put up a no trespassing sign, like I live in a corner house, so would I have to have the sign posted on both the east side as well as the north side, etc.?
Is Jose Briones son? We actually have a location that we could present. Graceland, we're doing this with on the 200 block of Graceland. Jose, are you on?
Mute myself. There you go. Can you hear me now? Okay. On Fridays when we go on our encampment team, if it's on private property and they don't clean it up, code enforcement will find out who the owner of the property is and advise them that they need to clean up the property. If they don't clean up the property and the city ends up cleaning it up because it's really, really bad after the people leave from there, then they will go ahead and send them the bill, pretty much. And then if they don't pay it, then they'll go ahead and send them a notice to where they could even do a lien on their property because if they don't pay it. But we will still go out and we'll try to get them to leave. But if they don't want to, we would have to have the permission of the property owner, the private property owner. But we still try anyway. And if you have your own property and you can't get them off, we would need to get a hold of you to try to get permission to make them leave. And like you said, I think are you a property owner?
Yeah, I'm a property owner. So, I mean, that's just my concern is,
Yeah.
if, you know, if you guys come out, you know, so if I have a bunch of stuff that people have set up or, you know, their sleeping bag, their whatever, and I mean, I've had to clean up excrement and stuff before. If that's all there and I say, you know what, I don't feel safe, I don't want to clean this up, and you guys come out, then what am I going to be fined for that? Like, what would I be looking at with that?
Well, what happens is code enforcement, they'll send you a notice saying that the city cleaned it up. But what they do is they'll send you notice first and let you know that you're responsible for cleaning it up. And then it takes a while for them to actually say, hey, you're going to be fined for it. But they give you a chance to clean it up first. And if you're concerned about if there's someone on the property and you're afraid to go over there, we've had issues like that before. And you could contact me and I'll leave my email on the chat and let me know when you're going to go. And then we could meet you there and we'll make it everybody leave. And a lot of times people have trucks or whatever, and they clean up all their stuff because a lot of times, of course, the property owners are afraid of the people that are there. So usually when we have the officers, we'll stand by until you clean up whatever you need to clean up, and then we leave. So you can do that as well.
And let me add to that, Jose, and I think I saw Trevor Rigler, who's one of our city attorneys, if he needs to weigh in or correct me, but I mean, I think the difference between a business and a residence, a business, you know, obviously is open to the public. And when you have someone that clearly is not there to do business, but it's just, you know, they're drinking on the side of the building, or clearly they don't have a lawful purpose to be there. I think in that sense, and again, I don't know the exact the verbiage from the ordinance and the statute, but it definitely does help having a posted no trespass or criminal trespass notification sign to where the officer can articulate that this individual does not have a lawful purpose to be there, and we could take enforcement action. When it comes to your residence, like you should not have to post a no trespassing sign on your residence. As that homeowner, if you don't want an individual there trespassing, or worse, God forbid, they're trying to break in, we will do enforcement. You know what I mean? We will, of course, depending on the circumstances and, you know, offering if the citation is appropriate based on the severity of the charge, all the way up until where we may just arrest them or take them to jail, you know?
Okay, yeah, because I'm speaking as far as my home, because I've definitely had people like camped outside my home. I've had needles outside my home. I've had things like that. And so, you know, with the needles, that's not something I wanted to pick up and dispose. So you're saying that for a homeowner, property owner, that you would not have to have a no trespassing sign posted to be able to have the city come and help you get that off of your property and not be fined by code enforcement.
You know what, if you don't, well, and I can't speak to the property part. That's why I think Jose is more of an expert on that. But as far as someone trespassing on your property, no, absolutely not. Please have us there. And I'm really stressing this to all of our officers. There is always something we can do. Even if it's a citation, that is something to hold individuals accountable for their actions, especially if they break the law. If they break an ordinance, if they break a statute, I'm just kind of mind boggled if you feel like you have to have a no trespassing sign on your private residence. Like, no, people cannot just go on there because you don't have a sign and they can't be held accountable. Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Also, I just wanted to add, code enforcement stated that as far as a residence, we don't need to have no trespassing sign because you're there. And if you give permission for us to remove them, then we will remove them.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. I put my email in the chat. We're gonna head tomorrow to do a sweep, myself, code enforcement, and some APD officers. So if you want us to go to your property, just put the information on there and I'll add it to the list.
If you would like to address your question by voice, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. My name's Debbie Conger. I live in South Los Altos. Raven, I think it was, made a comment about signs and ghetto by design. I have the same comment about the police department advising people to keep bright lights on all night on their porches and their yards. I think that's the same thing. You have better neighborhoods such as Sandia Heights that have ordinances against lights, and you don't hear about all the crime there. A better solution would be to, in my opinion, would be to advise people to put lights on motion detectors and also make those lights so that they conform to the zoning requirements and do not shine on other people's properties. Because there is also a theory of crime that says bright lights reduce people's fear of crime, but not necessarily crime itself, because lights can actually enable criminals to see what's going on. And if, for instance, your house is dark or your house is lit up all night and you're sleeping, you're not going to notice a change outside with those bright lights. If you have your lights instead on a motion detector, you may wake up when you see a light go on and off. Sure, it may be a cat, but it also could be someone else and it's going to startle them. So I would just like the police department to do some more research, and I could send you some things if you wanted to from the International Dark Skies Association. But I'd like you to consider changing that advice for people to just keep lights on all night, because that really is also ghetto by design. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me, Mike? Okay, I just want to comment on that. I do what's called security surveys, and when we go and give recommendations at residences, I do recommend motion sensor lighting. I do not recommend like really bright lights at night because it does bother neighbors and it causes the light pollution. So, and you're correct, as far as the really bright lights, there's a lot of complaints from neighbors with each other as far as the lights. And the motion sensor lighting is really good because it gives a, like, for example, you'll know if there's something going on, you'll see the light go on. A lot of times it's a cat or a dog, but most of the time it'll at least alert someone, but you're correct. Sometimes people have really bright lights and they think it's gonna help, but like you said, it keeps it illuminated for people to do whatever they wanna do. But motion sensor lighting gives an element of surprise, and then it surprises them and they don't wanna get caught. And then, like, you know, it makes them leave for the most part. And you're correct.
Let's see. We had Peter and Raven join us. You have some comments, questions, suggestions? Go ahead and speak up, please.
Hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, this is Peter Kalitzis. It seems like there's some confusion, and I watched the Albuquerque City Council meeting in December, and there were different agencies from the city that really stated that they couldn't do anything. And with the commander, I'm glad he's there to, I hope, clarify. I mean, because the example that Councilor Vassan brought up was a constituent, and it was a business, contacted the city 8 weeks in a row, couldn't get assistance in getting rid of an encampment on property. But finally, this code enforcement came by and threatened to fine them. And that's, it's a public hearing that you can watch. But from all the indications, and it sounds like it was unclear there, the police, if you call the police and you have an encampment on your property, someone's there or their stuff is there, but particularly someone's there, you don't have to get them off. The police will come to get them off for trespassing. Is that correct?
Yes, you're correct. If you, for the most part, if you're afraid or you just don't want a confrontation with those people, you can't call the police and they will make them leave. And you don't need a no trespassing sign.
Okay, thank you. You might want to let the city council know because there was no answer given to clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because on Fridays, a lot of times we go to private property, and I had an example. It was actually a business, and every time the owners would go try to make them leave, they would give them a hard time, and they would tell them, or they would threaten them and tell them, if you don't leave and leave us alone, that we're going to hurt you. So finally, they reached out to us, and we went over there and we made them leave. And then they were able to clean up, and they were going to fence the property and everything, so they could, but they needed help. But we are able to go to that business and make sure that they leave.
You know what, if I can add on that real quick, I mean, I've seen examples where I've seen situations to where the city is the victim in a sense. And I think, and some on this call may not agree with this or not, but I think in situations like that, if we can lead with resources, because we can clearly identify that there's other underlying factors at play that's causing them to end up camping out at a park or something. If we can offer them resources to get them out of there, we should take that. But I think it's important when a citizen of our community is affected. I mean, our job as law enforcement, as police, is to advocate for you, and to hold people accountable if you feel you were wronged and actually there's an ordinance or statute that was violated to where you're the victim of. And this is just now my opinion. When it comes to businesses, I would always make the recommendation to get a no trespassing sign, only because if we want to hold this person accountable and we give them a citation and we make the arrest, when it comes time to hold them accountable in the court, I would hate for the argument to be presented like, well, this individual didn't know that this is or whatever, and it gets dismissed and they're not held accountable. To where it's like, hey, there was a notice that was in their visibility of their view, they knew they shouldn't have been there and they violated that. So that's my recommendation was for businesses. But I got a little bit confused earlier, or I don't want to say confused, but if there's an idea out there that as a homeowner, I have to put a no trespassing sign on my home. It's like, no, we can articulate the facts there and we can hold people accountable. So please, with those two examples, I hope that kind of clears it up. But kind of like with what we're doing here, we always like to lead with resources. We do. But if you, as a citizen, feel victimized, we're here to advocate for you. That's our job.
And I just want to add, when we do go on Fridays to the encampments, we always have resources that are available for them. Susie, for example, Susie Sanchez-Beg, and Ron has been on a ride along with us before. And we do give them resources, and sometimes they take them, sometimes they don't, but they are offered plenty of resources.
And Jose and Susie have visited the abandoned house across the street from me multiple times. I've seen what they do.
There. Yeah.
So I want to make sure that Raven, she's got her hand raised, so go ahead.
I'm just going to preface with saying that I hope my internet connection is okay. I've noticed that my speakers have been getting a little bit of an echo, so I'm hoping that this goes through correctly. I'm a little bit concerned only because I've been in this area now. I think I bought my house about 15 years ago, and things are definitely changing. I'm a little bit concerned as far as the impact of the gateway, simply because it's so difficult to get things taken care of in our neighborhood. And I know a lot of people have spoken to this tonight. It is seemingly quite difficult to get issues resolved now before the gateway is even open. We've had ongoing issues that we can't seem to get assistance with, especially with code enforcement. We've had problem properties in the neighborhood that we can't get fenced off. It wasn't until we actually dragged the media into it that we were able to get the old Blakes south of Elder Homestead to get fenced off and get the weeds taken care of. We had neighborhood initiatives where we did garbage cleanup on the streets and in the alleyways. It wasn't until we did these big things that we got code enforcement to finally help us out with getting that property taken care of. We still can't get the Weimart cleared up. And it's been an ongoing thing. With the abysmal track record that we've seen so far, it is really difficult to think that a public safety zone or the gateway when it comes online is going to make a difference. What can we as a neighborhood get as far as an insurance goes to show that the city is going to take us seriously? Because it really does feel like already in a very disenfranchised part of the city, we are having a horrible track record as it is with getting things taken care of.
I think that would have been a good.
I'm not quite sure what to say, and I want to, first of all, Kelly will sometime very soon after the meeting send me the link to the meeting recording. The chat will be included. All of the attendees' emails will be included, and I can get back to you on this after I have had some time to digest this. I will offer to come over, and I do what I call a ride-along. I go through the alleys and the parks and the storefronts and so forth, and I'll be happy to come over sometime and to tour your area so I can understand it better, so maybe I can give some thought to some solutions, hear what your thoughts are. Maybe we can, one of the initiatives that the other CPCs through the Council of Chairs has pursued is the idea of an ombudsman, where we as the CPCs want some action from various city agencies, and we would have a person with a little bit of inside power, whatever you want to call it, connections to work with us to carry the message to the right people. And sometimes that might be that we have to talk to the city councilors. And we've done that in the past. We simply have to give it another try. And I wish I had a better answer for you, but Raven, I'll be happy to come over and tour the area with you and just gather your thoughts and your inputs, and we'll try to figure out the right place to send them, okay?
I appreciate that. I'm going to be really blunt with you. I've been here, like I said, about 15 years. And I've seen a lot of degradation. I bought here because I loved the neighborhood. I loved the diversity. I loved the fact that it wasn't gentrified. There is so much culture and so much history and so many different groups in this area, and I fell in love with it. But I will say that I feel like the city has disenfranchised this area, and I know it's about a 40-year pattern. And to see things like the 10-year study on solving pockets of poverty and the fact that the international district wasn't even included in that is a bit insulting. I've organized a lot of things here with neighborhood cleanups, trash cleanups, alley cleanups, things like that. We're trying neighborhood beautification, Arbor Day Foundation things, trying to make this neighborhood as presentable and as nice and creating a sense of pride as possible. But honestly, I really feel like the city isn't meeting us halfway. I know we're really down for meeting the unhoused where they're at, but the city doesn't seem like it's meeting us where we're at. And I feel like there's a balance that needs to occur. It shouldn't be on the neighborhoods to push for sanitation and to push for a safe quality of life. I don't even feel safe running in my neighborhoods anymore. I've been a runner for 3 years now, and I leave my neighborhood to run. When I run with at least 3 ways to either maim or kill a man on my person at all times. And I don't feel like that is a quality of life in this neighborhood anymore. And it's part of a bigger problem. But when we can't even get people, like my neighbor just lost I believe a 25-year cultivated living wall to homeless folks that burned it down trying to stay warm. And there has been no recourse for him. I have an ER nurse that has been working COVID shifts down the street from me who cannot get help from the city with getting people out of her alleyway that have lit her back wall on fire. I have another neighborhood that lost part of his wall and a shed to fires. It feels like we're not really getting met by the city. And to have ongoing problems like abandoned properties and the Y-Mart, which we have called code enforcement damn near every week and have still been dealing with this problem, it just doesn't seem like we're getting anything right now. So I hate to break it to you, but the faith in this neighborhood, Elder Homestead in particular, is thin at best. So I don't know what you can do to help us out, but I would suggest getting on it sooner rather than later.
Would anyone like to address that?
Well, one of the benefits of having these recordings, and I'm just thinking out loud, I'm often wrong, and I'm open to hearing that. But one of the things we can do is do excerpts from these meetings and send it to the city council. So they can hear directly from you what we're hearing, and then we can see what kind of response we're going to get. So again, I will personally need some time to think about different approaches, and I'm open for any suggestions.
And I would like to say, Raven, also that the CPCs have recommendation power, in which we write a recommendation and it's passed by the council. It has to be looked at legally by APD. So it goes directly to the chief's desk. If you can come up with a specified recommendation and bring it to the council and get it passed, we will send it. And by terms of the CASA, someone in high leadership at APD has to address it and send us a response.
And that's good. This is not like, it's the culmination of a lot of years of aggravation, but this has not been something that hasn't been addressed. I mean, I have a 311 record 1.5 miles long. I have so many calls to Pat Davis that his policy analyst knows me immediately when I call, and I can't say that it's exactly a welcome phone call anymore. This has been an ongoing issue in this neighborhood. We have called and called and called, and it isn't until we pull a stunt like getting the news involved that we're actually seeing some sort of response. It wasn't until we had a neighborhood cleanup and we got the news involved that we saw something actually happen with that derelict Blake's location. Weimart is another issue that has been ongoing, and one of our neighborhood board members has called for news intervention on that, and we're still not seeing any real impact. I hate to say it, but the neighborhood is on the decline again, and it is very frustrating. We don't have a lot of hope that we're going to see an upswing anytime soon. And it does feel like that we're banging our heads against a wall over and over again, because we've invited code enforcement to our neighborhood association meetings. We have been outright rejected on getting somebody to come in and speak with us. I don't really know what else to do, but the suggestions of contacting the city or doing things through other channels is not a new suggestion. This has been done. We have met with city council. I've been involved with this project for 3 years now. And these are things that we've brought up repeatedly, and they are still a festering sore that has been unaddressed.
All right.
So let's see. Sandra, you had your hand up for a while, and I see that we have three more people who have joined. And this is really the kind of discussions that we need to have. They're not pleasant. Solutions are perhaps not the easiest in the world, but let's keep having the discussions, not to waste time talking, but to gather information and try to strategize about some solutions. By the way, we would normally be kicked out of the community center about 5 minutes ago if we were meeting in person. We typically adjourn the meeting at 8 o'clock, and Kelly, if Kelly's willing to stick around for a while, let's hear out the rest of the people. We can afford a few more minutes. And for those who have not gotten a chance to speak or get your questions answered, I'm just going to go ahead and put my cell phone into the chat, and you can get in touch with me. So let's go ahead, Sandra.
So to completely have my board member, Raven, have her back 100% of everything she has said. In addition, I put in the chat, to what extent does the Southeast CPC have with the D6 president and the council in the fact that as far as transparency and all of us neighborhood associations in D6 working together, it seems to me that there's a lot of broken lines because a lot of the D6 neighborhood associations have fallen apart. And I think in order for us to have a full volume voice in District 6, all of the neighborhoods, especially the ones surrounding the gateway, we need to be strong. We need to be reaching out to each other and make sure that the boards are strong and we're all on the same page, which it seems to me like we are, because the adverse effect that would happen to our neighborhoods surrounding the gateway will be severely impacted. So I guess the question is the Southeast CPC in direct contact with the president and the council of D6 to coordinate some efforts?
Does anybody have something to say in that regard? I'm being kind of an info sponge tonight, just trying to absorb it all. If not, I see that Dr. Rickman's on, and it looks like James and Peter also had questions or comments, suggestions. One of the three of you unmute and say something. Let's go with Dr. Rickman then.
Dr. Rickman may not be prepared to speak tonight. We kind of sprung it on him. But is there anyone else who has another comment to make at this point, or a question, a suggestion, or anything else that can lead us in an excellent direction for the future?
Oh, I can speak. I'm sorry, just trying to unmute. No, I just want to compliment your work. It was a great discussion tonight. The agenda was right on, and the issues covered were really to the point. And I think this whole issue around nuisance properties, I call them nuisance properties, it's something that I've heard in other meetings that I've observed. And it's probably something that maybe that the chairs of the CPCs can figure out how to address. And I know it relates to some of the recommendations that have been made and how they're being handled. But it seems that this whole issue of how to deal with nuisance property seems to be front and center in a lot of the different CPCs. But thank you all for a great discussion.
I will add a comment after we hear from Peter and James.
Well, this is Peter. I don't have any more comments. Well, one comment. Mike, I must congratulate you. Thank you very much for being very open and receptive to meetings we attend. You know, you're given the 1.5 to 2 minutes. This seems much better and an excellent opportunity for dialogue. Thank you.
Go, James. Are you ready, James? Because I will always talk if there's a moment of silence. In the past, when we had in-person meetings, we often had conversations out in the parking lot that went as long as 1.5 hours. Various different topics with various people who had special, I don't want to call it special interests, concerns. And so there'd be all these small dialogues outside. One of the things that the Council of Chairs and past CPC members talked about was working groups with the community. We can continue these dialogues, these conversations. If you contact me, I will either work with Kelly to host a working group with a specific focus. My particular focus sounds pretty broad. It's homelessness, and I engage with them at all hours of day and night on my own and with others. So I'd be happy to set up a working group that would bring together people who have the very same kinds of concerns about compassionate recovery for them. But then we could also have a working group that would focus strictly on nuisance properties or, the impact of, fighters in the alley. I've put some of those out. So we're all ears. We have plenty of resources. I'm happy to host if Kelly's unavailable, and we will record those so that others can review them in the future. Again, transparency and accountability. And so we'll put those up online for others to say, oh, I've got an idea how to address Raven's concern, what to do in this neighborhood. So, and then we can take things to the city council as well. So I did post my cell phone number, and please, if I can't answer, please leave a voicemail so that I know what you call, who you are and what you're calling about, and I will get back in touch with me. As I've said to others, feel free to pester me if you don't get an answer right away, a week or so. So,
Mike, I think we have a question or a comment from Melinda Frame.
Go for it.
Oh, hi, sorry. And I apologize, my heater just kicked on, so it's probably loud in the background. One, I know Commander Bartlett was going to put his email in the chat, and I don't know if I've overlooked it, but can I just text you, Mike, and get that then if I don't find it here in the chat? Or maybe he's putting it up now, I'll look. And then my other comment was, if Commander Langwood is still here, are you doing any outreach to the neighborhood associations within the public safety district? Or if we were to contact you about speaking to our neighborhood association, is that something that you would do as far as how we can partner with you in this effort?
Absolutely. I can send you my information, and please let's set it up.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I apologize. I said absolutely. I'll put my contact information in the chat, and we could set it up.
Okay, thank you so much.
And Melinda, if you, I will get your email from Kelly, right? Kelly, that the attendees and participants come out in a little spreadsheet, and I can get in touch with you by email. But I did post my cell phone number, and you can text me. So go ahead and do that, and we'll find out what you need. Okay.
Okay, Mike, I need to leave the meeting.
How about if we, Melinda, did you have anything else to say?
No, that was it. That was it. Thank you so much.
Why don't we go ahead and call it an evening? We've lost 1, 2, 3 of our maybe 4, 3 of our council members, and it's late. And I want to let Kelly get me the recordings and all of those emails, and I'll spend some time reviewing it tomorrow. And
I think the commander had a question. Mike, is the next meeting going to be in person, or is it going to be on Zoom still?
Oh, we're going to definitely stick with Zoom for at least the next meeting. Kelly and I have on our to-do list experimentation on how to do hybrid meetings, because a lot of people simply can't show up for the in-person meeting at the community center. So we'll go ahead and have a Zoom meeting the next time, which is going to be the 3rd Thursday in March, which I believe is the 17th.
All right, with that, I make a motion to adjourn this meeting then.
And by the way, I would say, look at April, maybe May for a full-time return to in-person and hybrid meetings, as we have to get the word out and we have to get the community centers booked and all that kind of stuff. So
thank you, Kelly.
All right.
Well, I'm all in favor of calling it an evening, and I thank everybody for sharing their thoughts candidly and respectfully. Thank you. So can we call it quits then? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Good evening.